There we go. Audio's working. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Blender for Korman for Beginners. Sorry for abruptly bailing 2 weeks ago. It's been a time. If you know why, you know why. I'm not gonna go into it on stream too much. Though I will show you the end result of some of that. In a bit, at least. First things first, though. Let me just save the texture real quick. Textures, PNGs. I received a texture from the scar.fr, so I'm gonna quickly add that in. Tab. Solar panel texture. Let me make sure I get the right spelling here, so it's gonna be a copy paste. There we go. Missed a V. Okay. And we're gonna quickly change that texture out. I'm gonna open, go to PNGs, and the scars project age name was starting with an S, so it's stilt house. There we go. And hey, that looks a whole lot better than what I already had. But there we go. That's that basic change made. So yeah. So last night I was up way too late creating these little meshes here with a brand new texture that I created. These are essentially covering up the harsh seam line between these textures here. And so we're going to be doing today, at least my intent for today is I'm going to come along and I'm just going to copy paste I'm just going to do what I did last night, and I'm going to do some jagged line work to cover up the seams here. But first, I'm going to select this, and I'm going to assign this to the scratchy ground. No, I'm not going to do that just yet. Not just yet. But yeah. Anyway. So yeah. Boom, 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 and we're just going to select these down here. Boop, 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 boop. No. Wrong one. Yeah, we're going to be doing this kind of not exactly all we're not going to be doing this all at once. Like, I could do both sides of this at once, but instead I'm just going to duplicate. And yeah, that's good enough. And then we're just gonna yoink, 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 yoink. All of that. Yep. Transform origin to geometry. And we're gonna pull that out a bit and ground scrape. This is a very, very large texture. So yeah, we're going to do our editor. Tab. I'm going to set this to ground scrape. As you can see, this looks completely all over the place. First things first, what we're going to do is we're going to unwrap this. And as you can see, we now have a very weird mesh. And you might be thinking, well, the obvious way to fix this is just to do it in chunks, but not if we want it to be really continuous. I mean, theoretically, I can break it off into chunks, but that's going to be kind of... Actually, no, maybe we will do that, breaking it off into chunks. But before we actually get into that, I'm actually going to come along here. I'm going to select Edges, F, 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 Control T, no, subdivide. That should do the trick. And then I'm actually going to make sure that this is shadeless so I can see what the hell I'm doing. You can see here there's a bit of a weird bit here because it triangulated with a thing in there. I'm going to try to... So I'm just going to delete the faces there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that, and then that. Yeah, that works. Yeah, that'll work. And then to smooth it out, I'm going to delete this. No, wait, I'm actually not going to delete that. I'm going to boop, boop, face, boop, boop, face. Yeah, so, now that, almost smooth things out a bit. Let's do that. And we'll do that too. Okay. And then while I'm thinking on it, oops, that looks like that is clipping through, so I don't need to... There we go. That should do the trick. Now we don't actually need to see all the rest of the terrain because I'm going to trust that I have made my mesh correct here. Okay. And I'm gonna control T to triangulate it. Okay. We're gonna zoom in here, and you know what, we will just start with these ones here. I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees. Actually, let's see what I'm doing here. So the first thing is we're just going to start off by getting our furthest edges into what is on this side of things going to be the white edge zone, which on this texture is actually our missing alpha texture. But the white edge helps us align things. Yeah, we're just gonna do this. And this texture I made is just a combination of like 2 or 3 different textures. And then we're just going to come along in here and this, because it's going to be easier in the long run for me to do that. Okay. And then don't forget to select these again, because I need that to line up. Okay. So, you can start to see where we're going to have our lining things up, where we need to line things up. We kind of want this to be like this one long continuous strip of the texture. So I'm gonna like drag this vertex here. I'm gonna drag this vertex here. I'm gonna drag this vertex here. I'm gonna start to see that it's as I start to oopsie, I screwed that up. Yes, I did. Okay. This is why we are doing it like this. So we gotta make, so it's this one that's gotta come down here. Get that lined up. Always helps to figure out which vertex you're moving first. Always gotta pay attention to both sides of the, you're gonna notice that stretchers get really stretchy over on this side as I work on this. Because, well, technically we are, in fact, stretching the texture in a very weird way, and Blender is getting a little confused by it. See if I stretch this way, it gets a little more compressed, or it gets a little more stretchy. So we're gonna let this about right there. Yeah, and we're just kind of eyeballing this at the moment. However this is going to look in the long term. Yeah, see, we got some weird stretchies going on here, so we kind of gotta balance things out a bit. Mostly just want to avoid things looking too out of place. As best as we can. Which, given the turning of the texture here, yeah, that's gonna be a little. You're gonna notice that as I mess with things, I'm gonna start overlapping in places, and that's just how we're gonna have to deal with this at points. And it's gonna look weird as we work on this. Essentially, what we're trying to, you can see what we're trying to do here is we're trying to take this long, unwieldy, bending yeah, so, yeah, we're basically trying to take this big, long, unwieldy ribbon, and we're trying to make sure that it all sort of lines up roughly. I'm just gonna ease up a bit to give ourselves some more room. Whoop, whoop, whoop. basically we're just trying to get all of this roughly in alignment like a ribbon. That's not looking too bad. Basically, this is all just the... This is kind of a more extreme version of what I'd originally done with the, yeah, you know what? Those are gonna have to be messed with. Now let's sort out any awkward stretching that's going on in here. That looks fine. It's you that looks a little weird. Okay. It's these little weird stretchy bits in the interior that get harder to work with, because you gotta kind of slinky inch it along. Like you have the like like the slinky dogs and the slinky toys. You kind of gotta kind of inch, or maybe inchworming it is a better metaphor. Yeah, like that. Okay, it's not so bad. Okay, now I'm gonna have to redo this section because I screwed it up. I'm gonna unwrap that. Rotate it. Rotate it. There we go. Take that. Take this. Do this. We're gonna take this, and then we're just gonna raise that a bit more. There we go. If I've got my math right, this bit is gonna come along here. Ah, I do not have my math right. Because you are the way over here. Gotcha. This is gonna come along here. This is gonna come along here. And this is gonna come along here. We've got some weird stretchies going on, but that's gonna be easy enough to take care of. Just gonna pull this this all in a bit. I'm not worried about how this looks a little weird along the edges, because that just gives it a little bit of a natural, sort of erosion-y vibe. Even though this isn't really erosioned per se, it is still, this is where things get annoying. So you gotta play around with all of these vertices to try and get things to feel like they flow in a natural way. Aha, there's that. So okay. So right here is where things are meeting. It's you who has to. Okay, go. This is really just the trickiest part about what we're doing here is we're trying to get all of this to line up in a way that feels natural. I feel like to some degree it really should not matter how much I adjust some of these. Like, it's gonna be mostly in shadows, you know? And it's gonna be mostly seen at a distance. But I still want it to look mostly correct without egregious stretching. Which is kind of doing here, which is not what I want. Come on. I'm probably fussing over this way too much. Let's just get back to leveling this out and worrying about the, the visual appearance later. Doesn't matter how good we get it on the first pass, I think. Because we can always just sort of play around with it later. Do fine tuning later once we get to the once we get to the Mikata stage and we can have people giving us feedback on things. Yeah, there we go. And I'm gonna get rid of the collision and the visibility map stuff on this because it's not necessarily needed for the reflection maps. The more objects we have reflected, the more intense the reflection map is going to be. I can always come back in and re-add the visibility set, but for the moment, we don't need it. I'm gonna zip out of this. Come back here. I don't know why I have this texture is shadeless. That's kind of annoying that I had that set that way, but I probably was messing with it last night. I forgot to change it back. So yeah, we now have a big old bit of stretchy going on here. Of course, this is looking a little bit like it's not quite lining up right. Let me mess with that just a smidge to try and get that a little more light on it. Oh, yeah, that'll be fine. It's got that should be fine. That should be fine. So we're gonna save, and we're gonna export. Oh. Yeah, essentially what that you see how down here at the bottom we have the weird the white and brown transitioning across each other like that. That's basically this sort of situation, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, point is that we're basically doing an external mesh for what we did internally here. And again, you can see there's a seam line on this where the texture doesn't quite line up right. I've got an idea of how to fix that. But yeah, I've got an idea how to fix that. It's an upcoming thing, but it's going to be similar to what we're doing here, where we're just going to take a strip of the mesh that we already have. We're going to copy it. We're going to then do another texture over top it, and Cyan did a lot of really clever things with in a lot of cases where they had it being texture blending with fade maps and all that. I'm just doing it the old-fashioned way, because like if you go to the really old stuff, then you'd see that Cyan, they before they had the blending stuff really going on, they faked it like the way I'm doing here. So I'm just gonna come up here. Ooh, yes. Those solar panels look nice. Ooh. Yeah, these solar panels look nice. But we can't really see what we're looking at here, can we? I mean, it looks very nice in the night, but net force time of day 0.4. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that looks. So yeah, this is what I was working on last night. We got that 4, 5. Here. But let's go look at what we were looking on just a minute ago, because that's the more important vibe. I swear I set that to its own page. Dang it. Anyway. Look at that. That looks incredibly more like the ground mesh there was that looks incredibly more like you can see there's that harsh line here that doesn't look so natural, but now we have this where it looks like, oh, this whole ground was really torn away suddenly, and it's got these different layers to the dirt to it. Yeah, we're gonna come along and do similar things over here. I'm gonna come along and do similar things over here. As for remember when I was blowing out the ceiling and all that, and I was like, oh, this is a little neat nook and all that, and for those of you who know, I've dedicated this little space to a memorial to a certain explorer. we lost a lot of people last couple weeks. And, yeah. Anyway, this was just my little way of coping. And I'll probably come along and do some more seam work in places, but maybe not. I might just leave that. It looks alright. Moment. Like the hard edges don't look too bad in some places. What's going on there? Did I screw? I did screw that up. There's a gap in there. I'll have to fix that. But yeah, we've got the transition seams here. I'm just going to have to come along and work on all the transition seams a bit better and yada yada yada. Yeah. Primarily though, I am very happy with that. 3, 5, 4, 5, 6, oops, 5, 5, nope, 5, 4, 7, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 4, 30, 38. Huh. Funnily enough, this one section does not seem like it's getting much sunlight on it. Maybe I need to... Yeah, I think I don't have enough of a round gap in there. But yeah, I don't care about covering up the seam on the top edge here because that's not important at the moment. Oh, but you can see that there's some weird real-time shadow casting stuff going on there. Yeah, don't know what's going on there, but that's just shadows, real-time shadows. Things get weird with real-time shadows. Oh, speaking of shadows. Whee! I have gotten the shadows in here almost completely done. There's still some weird lighting things I need to sort out. But yeah, look at all these shadows cast along the walls. Whee! And then, sorry, solid. But yeah, the view from up here is pretty consistent, in my opinion. And I think that's pretty good. I love we can just barely see the volcano from ground level. I mean, when you're down here, you'll just, once you have the smoke plume in place, you'll just see a big old plume of smoke, a couple plumes of smoke coming up in the distance there, and you're like, whoa, what's that? You know, it's like, yeah. And we did some lighting adjustments here. That's just, in this case, I worked with the seamage between the two textures. So this hard line here is actually kind of intentional, because it's like, oh, that's the line. That's the light from the, that's light from something reflecting on that. Kind of intentional there. But yeah. Oops, I need to put collision back on those. Collisions on that. Oops. No collision there. Gotta fix the collision. Fix the collision. Fix the collision. Yep. Did not put the collision back on these. Okay, gotta rebuild the collision. So, you know what? You've seen what we had to do for the, you've seen what we had to do for the, texture binding, so I will come back to the other side of this later. Instead, we're gonna come along to here. And does this have collision on it? No, it does not. Where's my collision wall? Here's my collision wall. There we are. So we have this thing that I built here. This is just a collision wall. We're going to build another one of these, and we're just going to... Rather, I think... That's got collision. Ah! I forgot to put collision on back on that. Collision. Doop. Okay, that's got collision. Okay, so I already had collision on that. I just forgot to re-enable it. We're just gonna, yeah, we're just gonna come along and we're gonna keep working on this, I think. We're gonna, just gonna take our vertices along the top here. And then, instead of just leaving it to lined up, smooth out, I'm going to just do it for these. We're going to partially slide this out on the y-axis, and then slide this forward on the x-axis. Then, pull that out, pull this forward. And we're just gonna reshape what we already had here. So, yeah. Just gonna stretch that, fill that gap. Okay, so then we're just gonna come along here, gonna select these, and we're just gonna put out like that. Yeah, we're just gonna make a fake collision box for these. It will help with collision later on. It'll help with physics calculations because we're only calculating yeah, we're only going to be calculating physics for a certain subset of objects. A certain subset of objects, rather than having, you know, rather than having rather than having rather than having God, how do I say it? Rather than having collision on all of these objects, we're instead just gonna be doing this, basically. We're gonna create a fake box that only encompasses the outside collision mesh of these objects. Which, yeah, Yeah, it's probably just about as tedious as doing the texture editing work we were doing a few minutes ago, but I'm not gonna fuss it. Because this is actually something that does need to be done. And it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like I should have had this done a while ago, and I have not worked on it in a long while. So, yeah, we're just gonna do that for a bit till we get tired of it. Just gonna do that. Question. This thing. Yeah, I can live with that being having its own collision. Because I built these giant rocks with all of their sides there, and I really should have. I think I did try to. I did try to get rid of the collision there, but I don't know if I succeeded primarily. I'm gonna worry about culling planes that I don't need later. Bring this in a bit. Yeah, that'll do. And it doesn't matter if these are going to be perfectly lined up. These are just meant to be proxy collisions that are keeping the avatar out of spaces that we do not quite want them in. And it is okay that we do not want them in it. That over like that and up. There we go. And I realize on some level this probably just seems really redundant. It's like you're going to create a complicated mesh to cover complicated meshes. But this is how you do it sometimes. You really don't need that complicated of a geometry mesh. You don't need exacting collision. And sometimes you just need something to get the general vibe across. This, and then I just do that. Just gonna push that in. Make sure it lines up. Oops, a little too far in. And then just come along like this. And this thing, lava flow 3. That, where's the collision on that? I thought I had collision on that. I'll put collision back on it because really it's not that complicated of a mesh. you'll see that it's like, oh, that's kind of getting weirdly into itself. So my first thought is just gonna be, I'm just gonna call these oop, wrong, oop, oop. Yeah, see, that's kind of not doing what I want it to do. If we have that, leave that like that, they'll leave players able to be able to clip into the physical geometry and see through things, and I really don't want them seeing through. And we'll just pull this forward. Oh. Just pull that inward, pull it upwards. And then just to ensure things roughly line up there. I'll do the trick for that. There, that will have solid collision to it. Next we do a thing with that. And I'm not gonna worry too much about the axis collisions at the moment because, again, we're kind of just trying to get this roughly filled in. For that, we can just do a face. We can do a face. Push that in, raise it up. Boop, face, boop, face, boop, face. Just a smidge. Face, 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 Control T. There we go. And look at that, we've got a whole thing filled in. What about what's going on over here? I think we need to have a face, Control T. Yeah, let's do like that. That out. This out. There we go. Lower that down until it starts to clip. Put this in until it starts to clip. This back. Oop. And then I'll just lower that down until that starts to clip. And raise that up. Go. And now we have this big ol' collision mesh, and we're just gonna gently wrap it around here. Once we're done wrapping it around, we'll raise up on this end and come on. I pulled off part parts of you because I think I wanted to let you have your collision. What about you? What did I did not call off anything on that. I think I'll put collision back on you. Put collision on you. What about you? You... Frankly, do you need collision? Oh, you've got a bit there. Okay, I'm gonna put collision back on you because you had... Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna need to wrap some collision around that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is now... Go back to this. I'm gonna just focus on covering these outside rocks for a little bit. That was the wrong one. Grab that. There we go. Delete that face, actually. Bring that in. And then bring that forward, bring that outwards. Okay. Then I'm going to take this line and I'm going to pull it backwards. Again, I'm going to worry about how this... Frankly, no, I can just pull that in like that. Yeah, if I do it like that, then I don't have to worry about, yeah, if I do that, I don't have to worry too much about that. That should, So, let's take that, pull it out like that. Let's pull this out like that, pull this out like that. I need to see this particular... Yeah, I need to see these edges a bit more. This is gonna have collision. Yep, see, I have the height off slightly. Okay, so here is that I need to release this up. Release that up. Then that fills in there. Okay. Then I'm just going to take this, extrude, raise, there we go. Okay. Okay, that's got that poking through. Honestly, do I even need to have... No, actually, I don't think I need this section at all. Yeah. There we go. See, that's mesh cleanup right there. That was me realizing I did not need a mesh, and so I got rid of it. think I'll need that kind of collision work, but boom. Did it anyways. There we go. Pull this out, pull it in, pull it down, because I know players are going to get on here, and it'll be weird if that suddenly slopes up in the air. And then I'm just going to stew that a bit. Pull that back. Pull this outwards like this. Try and roughly match the slope of this rock. Bring that down. Bring this over. Down. That. Bring that up. Yeah, that'll do. And just pull this forward, pull it up, pull it out, pull it up. That looks a little weird, but I'm not gonna fuss it too much. And then we'll just carry on as we're doing. There we go. Pull this down like so. Pull this down. Don't care if feet slip through the texture slightly. If people complain about it right there, right next to the rock like that, I can absolutely make the mesh more complicated later. For the moment, we don't need it to be that complicated. We're still in the getting things to look, just be walkable stage. I'm gonna come up here and lower these down just a smidge. That'll do. Boop, boop. Pull this back, pull it up, pull it by the y-axis, pull it up a bit. There we go. And you get to be blocked. Goodbye, Spambot. Blocked. And then ban. Boom. Goodbye, Spambot. Goodbye. This is why I need a moderator. But getting people to help you with your streams is probably a harder thing to do than getting the free time to model and animate your own VTuber model, because I still need to take the time to do that. It's been one hell of a month, I will just say that. I have had a lot of things happening this month. A lot of things. And I'll do what I did before. I'll delete those faces, and then boop, boop, face, boop, 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 face. There. same thing here. We'll just delete those. Boop, boop, face, boop, 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 face. There. That'll help. Okay, so this thing has collision on it, so I just need to get this to come out and meet it. Let's disable that. Nope. Just lower that down. Nope. Then we just gotta extrude it forward, scale on the x-axis a bit, raise that end up slightly, grab this, lower it down, grab this, nope. Oh, actually yes, lower that down, lower that down, I may need to do more triangulation on that. Doesn't quite matter for the moment. Export, extrude, bring that down. Ouch. Extrude downwards. There we go. Go. Oop, oop. Face. Control. Triangulate. Let's just do one face at a time here. Oop. Boop. Boop. There. Yeah, okay. Then I'll just do that. Do that. And I'm just going to subdivide. We'll just raise, 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 raise. Raise. That'll do. And voila, we've now created a big old mesh of collision. Or rather, we've enhanced a big old mesh of collision. I called stuff off of you, so you get collision. I called stuff off of you, so you get collision. I called stuff off of you, so you get collision. I called stuff off of you, so you get collision. Okay. I did not call stuff off of you, so that's fine. Did I call stuff off of you? No. You. Nope. We're just going to do the tried and true method of what I did in Nape, of what I've done before, and that is just select the faces, select all faces, then select the faces that are visible, or rather deselect the faces that are visible. And then we just delete the ones that aren't. Faces, tab, and then get collision. And this just helps keep things tidy. We don't need all of these faces. Delete. And then you'll get collision. Same deal here. You do not need all of those faces to have collision. Faces, tab, collision. This used to hold a book on it long, long ago. That version of this age is long gone. And we're just going to do the same thing here. We're going to select all of these, deselect all of the faces that are visible. Come on. Yeah, you know what? You know what? Let's just take that and drag it down. Then we can do our deselect nonsense. Whoop! Delete faces. I hit the wrong button. And then you get collision. And I could theoretically cut down even more of the unexposed, of the unnecessary faces. Like, look at how much of that rock is still there. But I'm not going to worry about that. Collision. Tab. I'm sure there's an official name for this kind of technique, but I don't know what it is. Oh, nice of me to have already pre-selected all the faces on this. Anyways, if you haven't gotten it yet, I would suggest grabbing the new Blender for, or the newest Korman extension, because that would be 0.16b, because that fixes a lot of the bugs that we were having with our pointer properties and a few other things like our disappearing viz regions and other bugs. Yeah, oopsie, I forgot to deselect that face. There we go. But, yeah, so, if you haven't yet, get the latest, Korman, and also the latest ZLZ, because that also fixes a few outstanding issues, such as compatibility with the newest Korman. I want to make sure everything is up to date. So if you've not updated your stuff recently, considering this your sign to update your Korman install. Ugh, I see some faces I need to... Am I going to end up not deleting any faces on this thing, I wonder? This particular rock? Okay, there's some faces. Okay, there's some faces. I can live with some faces. And you get collision back on you. Hey. There's my phone. Who's messaging me? My picture app. Completely worthless. Picture of cinnamon rolls. I do not need a reminder that I have cinnamon rolls in the fridge. Because I have not cooked cinnamon rolls in the last while, so... Just gonna do what I did before. I'm just gonna drag that down a bit. Delete those faces. There we go. And collision. Boom. Okay. Let's put you back to wire. I am happy with that. Happy. Okay. Test age. We'll do a quick test. Hey, buddy. Yeah, we've worked on a couple things already. I'll give you a quick review, Torque, while we're, exporting. They're not cinnamon rolls. They're collapsed boulder rocks. But yeah, I'm just doing some minor collision work and simplifying geometries, and while also adding new geometries to cover up texture seams. Once we import into the age, I will give you a quick glance at the things that we yeah. Also, cinnamon rolls, not sponsored. Very, very delicious. Yes, I agree. Those are very good cinnamon rolls. Also, good cinnamon rolls, if you're getting them from the freezer, are Rhodes frozen rolls. But I think if you make them yourself, you can always control what goes in it a whole lot better. You can probably find some good cinnamon roll recipes. Sky, if you're listening, maybe a cinnamon roll recipe sometime in the future. I will DM you just in case you're not listening to this. But a cinnamon roll cooking stream, I would not be opposed to that. Right, so buddy, we got a new texture for our solar panels, courtesy of the scar.fr. Something I worked on for .4. Something I worked on last night was this big old texture scene, which we did another one of over here, which woo, yeah, that's a whole lot of work. And the textures are probably a little stretchy, but eh. Yeah, so let's come up here, and then I'm just gonna test the collision for all of this on the downwards descent. Oof, okay, that works. works. Whee! That works. Woo! That's got working collision. What am I getting caught on? Oh, I was getting caught on that part of the rock. Okay, I need to probably put something in there to fully block that out. But okay. Later. That rock's got good collision. It's got good blocking. Yay, yay, okay, that's working. Let's come down here. That's got rock, that's got rock. That's got collision. Okay, I think I did pretty good there. Also, shadows in here. Shadows, shadows, shadows. It looks like a forest in here, but it's all shadow play. But yeah. Hi, Wonk. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, the new cliff textures, I'm really digging them. It's a combination of a couple different textures. One of them is actually an unused one from anime, I think. But yeah, so slowly but surely we're gonna be, gonna have to deal with that texture seam eventually. But yeah, slowly but surely we're getting things, blocked out better. Yeah, I got collision back on those, right. Whee. Okay, next thing I need to focus on. I have no idea what to focus on next. So I think... Whee! See how far I can get jumping. Nope. Hey! Saved myself from hitting the water. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along... I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bit of texturing where there's a seam here and cover up part of that next. Yeah, that's just a recolored clay texture from Edergira. So yeah, this texture is just a recolored texture from Edergira, so it exists. It's a good texture. Yes, this bit right here. Yeah. Ah, it's right where I want it to be. Okay, so, like what we did with the, boop, 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 boop. Like what we did with the upper cliff, we're just gonna come along here. And nope. Just gonna come along, and we're gonna select these bits here. But we're gonna use a different texture this time, because that big one for the cliffs is, a little too, how do I say this? It's a little too big for what I want to do here. I just want a little simple texture change over here. Yeah, that'll do the trick. For this bit, I'm gonna duplicate by selection, and then I'm just gonna stir a bit of everything. Woo! New texture! Hedging dirt corner. Open. We're gonna go to our PNGs. We're gonna go to pod. I'm looking for one of my Gira textures. Gira ground dirt edge. That's the ticket. That's going to be our interior or day night cycle light group. Okay. And we're going to make it shadeless. Where did that go? There it is. Okay. And go object, transform, origin to geometry. I'm going to just slide it out, slide it out. That should... Yay, that does the trick. Okay. And then we're just going to come along in here. And like before, I'm just going to do smooth out the edges here, just a smidge. Yep. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of that face. Smooth. Okay. Unwrap. And then this is going to be round edge. Ooh, look at where all that wound up. At least it's right, at least for the moment, it is actually at the, basically the, it's almost perfect to what we need. Almost. It's not quite perfect. But, because it's all ziggy-zaggy, but if I come along here and I just start yoinking things right to the bottom of the texture, and then I start yoinking things to the top of the texture, and then I do the smart thing and start lining the middle of the seam between these parts along the middle. We're going to have a little bit of some stretching issues. That's not going to be avoided at the moment. But just trying to get things a little level. But yeah, see, the idea here is that this is just going to be like the corner edge that where there's that sharp meaning of the bit of it, where this is just kind of wearing away a bit more, like where the water is meeting with the where the water is meeting with the ground and it's eroding it away. We're going to have a slight bit more. I'm just going to have some extra erosion detail there, I think. Yeah, you're noticing that it's getting really stretchy, and we'll deal with that in a bit. At the moment, we're just trying to get this roughly horizontal along this middle seam line. Once we get this and polished up, so let's see here how far out do I need to stretch that before that comes into focus? Not that far. Okay. I'm just going to stretch that out by our x-axis then. See how that looks. Not finished over here, though. We've still got to finish this section off. And this is where things are going to get tricky, because we've now got all of this to deal with. See how this is where we're really kind of running into trouble here, because before we had a nice solid middle line to line everything up with. Now we've kind of got some complicated geometry to try and keep in alignment. So I'm just going to pull this in more. Okay. And we're just going to stretch that a little bit more to give it just a slightest bit more hope of a chance. But we still have a slight bit of stretching in here. Let's see now if I do it like... It's you that's giving me grief. There we are. There we are. I'm gonna exit out of that. Oops. Nope, we still have a bit here. That's messy. There we go. There we go. There. How many times can I say there we go before I'm actually ready to try to export this? I wonder... There we go. There we go. And I think I can get rid of that face entirely. Yeah. Okay. No longer shadeless. Let me remove the excess texturing, collision, whatever. You don't need to cast a shadow separate from everything else. Now we'll export and test the age. The cursor. Yeah, the cursor is a free cursor pack that a VTuber released. It's a little animated sprite of one of their outfit appearances models. So it's very cute. Michi Mochibi of View Shoujo had released that's the cursor design. That's if anyone's wanting that. It's a cute little mouse cursor, and it's purple. Her hair is purple, so she got so it's all purple. Yeah. I think the mouse, but the cursor came out like 2 outfits ago, so she's not using the outfit that it was based off of currently. So I'm sure she'll use it again at some point. But the VTubers tend to switch back when they feel like it, or just keep using new ones and then. But yeah, some VTubers have a whole lot of outfit model collections. Like Iron Mouse, she collects a whole lot of models, which is yeah, cool. But whee, okay, okay, I missed a thing. I need to extend that a bit because that just suddenly abruptly ends. But for the most part, yeah, yeah. Or 0.4. Oop, I'm gonna need to mess with that plane there just to get it out. Yeah, there's some bits where it's clipping weirdly, but but that really gives it a sense of yeah, like look right there. You see how that, like you can just see the difference like right here where that just sort of weirdly goes weird, but then over here it's a little more softly blended. You can still see the original texture blend there, but it's just now it's got the extra texture over top it, which gives it a whole a sort of softer vibe, I guess is the way to put it. Something like that. Certainly looks better at a distance, I'll say, than just having looks better at a distance, I think. Gives it a little more grounded believability, I feel like. Yeah. Yeah, let's find where it's clipping. Aha. Yeah, what happened here is that I triangulated this mesh, so some of the triangulations make it clip through in obvious ways that it would really have been nicer if it had it cut through that way. It would have been nicer if it had come along the other direction. Subdivide. Ah, no, wrong one to grab. Grab this one. Grab this one. There we go. Sometimes the knife tool likes to work and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why. Those up. problem here is that it just suddenly ends. So, I need to do something about that. I'm gonna put that face, so I can then do. I'm just gonna pull this along a bit. There we go. Okay, now see how it just kind of did what I was. It kind of did this weird thing where it just sort of yeah, that's kind of what I needed to do. Hey, okay. And come along over here. I'm gonna rotate it, like so. Now, this is where we come into a little bit of a tricky situation. See, this doesn't quite want to. See if I try and get that up there, it's not going to want to. It doesn't quite do that. So I have to bend it backwards a bit, I think. But I'm not happy with how that's intersecting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to you don't even have collision on you. Do you have a backside? You don't have a backside, so that's fine to give you collision. And then I'm going to duplicate this. And then we're just going to sink that in like that. And scale. There we go. That's two little fumaroles right next to each other. And yeah, okay. Go back to here. Did I put that to shadeless? No, I did not. Okay. Just gonna test that again. Yeah, I wasn't happy with how that seamage was lining up, so I just decided to cover it with a fumarole. Sometimes when you're not happy with how a texture is looking, you just gotta cover it up. That's the only solution. Because sometimes you can't avoid the stretchies, so you gotta do things a little differently. It's a little stretchy there, but considering what I had to do to get it to look alright, I'm okay with that. Yeah, this really gives this edge here, like this more, like it's really worn down over time and more of an eroded look. And I'm happy with that. I'm very, very happy with that. Less happy with how that texture seaming is holding up. I feel like I need to redo that. It looks like I did it pretty consistently everywhere else. This is where I'm going to have to play things weird, I feel like. This corner right here. 3? No, 6. There we go. Yeah. Oh, that's bright orange. But anyway, right here is where we have we're going to have our two textures kind of overlapping. Because this is going to stretch across over here. And this rock kind of blocks where that texture join is going to be. But over here, do I have... I have a slight issue with my mesh there, but anyways, I think my solution here... Hold on a second, did I? Okay, I know what my solution is. I know what my solution is. I did not get... Look at that, I did not get my water all lined up there. Why did I screw that up? Okay, so... What's going on here? What's going on here? What's going on here? Ah. I see what's happening there. Let me pull these back a bit. Should... That should help smooth things out a bit. Okay, so the problem here is A, I did not get these in alignment with the actual mesh, so it's sticking out slightly. Like that, which does not help. What also does not help is this thing. That is... texture is this? This is the mud texture, so crack tile. Cracked mud. Okay. Essentially, I'm just gonna extrude this, and then extrude it down. Go. Boop, boop, boom. And I now have to select all of these faces. Ay. What did I do past me? Why did you do it like this? More to the point, why is this still all part of the base ground mesh? Really could have done this better. Okay. In fact, I'm gonna separate you. Okay. We're gonna have to redo this whole thing! Unwrap! Because past me was being silly. Vertical. Okay. First things first, which end is the end I'm currently looking at? I think it's... Whoops. Yep, see, Control T did something weird there. Which I'm gonna have to fix. Because of course I did, up, subdivide. Okay. There we go. Right then. So if I'm right, you're there. Okay, perfect. We're gonna just rotate this generally into the right alignment here. And then we're basically just gonna do what we did earlier. I'm gonna make this shadeless because that glare is making it hard to see what I'm doing. Boop. Okay, so do that, do that. I'm not worrying about the exact spacing just yet because I'm not worrying about the exact horizontal spacing just yet because I know I'm going to mess with it a bit more. Once once we get everything roughly in alignment, I'm going to be coming along and stretching it horizontally on the x-axis some. Yeah, look, it looks scrunched up in places. Look at that bend in there right now. That's just not nice to look at all. Yoink. 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 This is where things get kind of annoying to fix. Where's that not lining up? Okay, it's you, you, you. Here's where things are getting funky. question now becomes... Ah, I think I know where I'm going wrong on this. I know where I'm going wrong on this entirely. Okay. Ah, I missed a plane tab. Wonder that didn't quite work. And now I have to redo that. Hmm. Screw it. Okay, added a new femoral. No big deal. No big deal. Add another femoral. Nope, nope, nope. Okay. And we're just gonna undo all that work and start over again. I gotta... seriously do it over again because I was... What did I just... Okay, yeah, you don't need collision, you don't need this or that. Or that, for that matter. Okay, okay. going to start from this end and work our way over. Because this end is the more complicated end. Therefore, vertical. Yep. Horizontal. Okay. So this end's going to be the trickier end. We need to get it right first rather than save it for the end. It's simpler. Look at how this curves because it does that weird little bendy thing. As we move it, it's like it's like it's like smudging around. Oh, it's like kind of playing with slime almost. I feel like. Ooh, look at how much stretchy we got going on there. Ooh. Mm-hmm. That. Okay. Oh. Let's get the stretching dealt with here. Okay. I realize adjusting textures like this probably isn't the most exciting stream thing to watch. But is an unfortunately necessary part of the process. Gotta do something funky here because going around a corner. It's hard to commentate over something like this that requires focus, but at the same time is like, let's give myself a little bit more breathing room. Okay. Look at how that morphs as we scale it out. Woo! Less, more. Less, more. Think about there's the right width for this. Okay. That's not it. That's not it. There's this. If I move that like that. That. It's a little less stretchy. There we go. I'll come in here. Or almost there. Home stretch. Almost there. Okay. Almost. I don't mind if that clips slightly because I'm going to just delete those faces. And it's just a matter of adjusting you. There we go. That looks much better. We have this clipping here. Subdivide. Subdivide. Oop, 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 oop. Faces. Faces. Now we'll just come over here where we have that slight edge issue. And there. I will export and be right back once I get some water. My throat's getting a little dry. And I am back. Okay. Ugh. Do have some slight stretchage. That is one giant fumarole. I feel like there should be an Easter egg with how much no, I just need to put a big old blocker here with how much steam is going to be coming out of this thing. I don't want people getting it in this. Although it would be fun to do the Gira thing and go whee and then fall back down. Just a glimpse at the age. But no, not gonna do that. Be a big old point of interest though, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm still gonna have to deal with some stretchies, but for the most part, I think this is good enough at the moment. Yeah, this is still kind of messing weirdly. I'll have to deal with that later. Yeah. Huh. And then I can come along on the other side of that with the other texture and yada yada yada. Let's just take a moment and look through the times a day for this area. Net force 0.0. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm thinking I need to make the nighttime a little more reddish if I'm going to be doing the smoke effects that I want to do, but we'll see. 5. I think that is the perfect, like, viewpoint of it. Like, it looks, believable, I think. Yeah, I like how it just has that ground up look to it. I need to add that in more places, so it gives it a more crumbled look in areas of importance. Six. Woohoo! Oh, actually, let's do 5, 5 first. Not bad. I really like how that's looking from a distance. That looks really nice from a distance. 6, 6, 5, 7, 5, 8, 9, 0. Okay. Okay. That's good. I'm already doing so much of the Gira thing here, I want. That big giant thing would just burn somebody alive if they tried to stand in it, I think. Let's see now. How long have I been streaming for? About 2 hours, 15 minutes? Let's give this one more stab at. Let's give this one more stab at fixing the stretchiness here. what went wrong there. Okay. That's why that was being weird. Okay, okay, okay. That's why that was getting funky. There was a folded seam. Too pressed. Try not to export the stretchiness across the board here. I think. Think I've got this now. Yeah, okay. I think I got this. I just need to smooth out some of the stretching. That should do the trick. Probably. Anyway, I think I'm gonna call it here. For the stream. Ugh. I've got more texture binding things to do and clean up and all that goodness. But I think that's good for today. I think that's a good stream for today. Yeah. We've begun our revitalization of our texturing in this area, I feel like. And once I get this bit covered and then the other bits covered, yeah, I think we're starting to get in a better place for the texturing. And I think I think once once this gets a little further along, I'll be ready to push it to Minkata Alpha. That's a whole lot of work I'm not ready for yet, though. So, yes. I'm gonna call it here. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Shora Bashemte. I will, catch you all next time. Bye. Boop.